So we have an iPhone 5 here that is in pretty bad state. It's falling apart. It's got a cracked screen as well, and yeah, so it's most likely screen replacement on this only. Sometimes when they're like this, it could be that the battery is expanding. I'm hoping that's not the case on this one, but we'll see anyway. So it's not showing anything on the LCD. It is taking charge, but I can't see anything. So let me open it up. So it looks like the battery is alright. It may have been replaced before, I'm not sure. Looks a bit like it. So that's alright. Let me test a new screen on that. So in this case, disconnect the battery, because you don't know in what state the phone is. It may be on, I'm not sure.
Hello, Computer Pal, can I help? He's busy at the moment. Can I help you? I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know when he's available. Okay. All right. Thank you. Bye bye. Come in. Hello. Hi. What is good now? Yeah.
Can you pass me another screen? Yeah. Cool. So let's test this out. Shiny new screen. Let's see now how that works. Chances are the battery is empty, so yeah, there we go. At least it's displaying something, so I'm gonna connect my cable. There we are, it's charging, and it's also taking charging current. So that's good. See if I can get that up. Whoops.
Unload.
Right, so there we are. So I'm just going to wait for it to turn on now. In the meantime, I'm going to disassemble the actual screen, the old one, because it's clear that obviously this is the issue. So if you watch the placement of my, let's leave this here. If you watch the placement of where I put the screws, so that's the top there. Bottom and side screws, because I have noticed a lot of people, they struggle with putting the screws back in. So I'm going to show you how to organize it properly. So you can see here, these 4 screws are the side screws, top, bottom, which is flipped, because the camera at the top is flipped as well. That one is the earpiece. So earpiece bracket and screws coming out now with the earpiece. And then front camera. So it feels like this has been replaced before that screen, which is probably why it's falling apart. Yeah, so clearly that's not a great part. That's just like held up by bubble gum, pretty much. There we go, home button coming out now as well. And the home button is falling apart. So in this case I will have to replace the home button with a new one, because you can see this is typical on iPhone 5. It's completely, plastic is completely gone on this side, so it's going to fall through. And this can go in a bin now. Could you pass me the iPhone 5 box? Yeah, cheers.
Where's that then? Because it's not in the,
Yeah, here.
oh, there.
Yeah. This, by the way, this little plastic here. See, is it gonna focus? Oh, I lost it. There we go, got it. See if it's gonna focus. Yeah, can't get it to focus properly. Let me do the prep on that. There we are, new home button, brand new. And a challenge with these new home buttons is that it may be difficult to adjust it properly, so you may have a home button that doesn't click at all, or a home button that's so far in that you can't really press it, so it's going to be stuck on the screen. So I'm going to show you now how to do this properly. So you need to get your seal, home button gasket. So if I maybe zoom in a bit. So just pull this off. It's pretty simple on this actually. And you just take your new button and put it on. You don't have to take this apart completely at first. Afterwards you can do that. So you can just take this off. And there you are. So that's brand new home button, brand new gasket. Is that focusing properly? Okay. So what I'm going to do now is, again, something, if you're not experienced with this, you probably shouldn't do this. Because I'm waiting for the phone to charge, as soon as the screen goes off, I'm going to disconnect it even though it's still charging. If you're not experienced, don't do that, because it can mess up your phone if you don't know what you're doing. And then you will require board repair on that. So if I zoom out, there we are. So put the top screw in first. This will align these screws perfectly. Now I'm pretty confident with these screens because these are really high-end screens. So I don't need to really test it beyond that. We rarely have any issues with these screens. Again, these are original refurb, so best of the best. So what I like to do is I like to line the screws on the tip of the screwdriver first, because it's magnetic, it's a lot easier to handle then, instead of trying to put the screw into the hole and then trying to put it in properly. So with the home button, you just gotta make sure that with this rubber piece, so if I do this, and you're just gonna make sure that the rubber doesn't flip on itself, so it's perfectly around the edges, because otherwise it's gonna flip towards the plastic, and then there's gonna be a gap, which is no good. So, and make sure it's nice and solid. There we go. And also on the other side, make sure it's aligned properly right there. So make sure the square is perfectly aligned. It is. So there we go. I'm going to do this the other way around. So if you take the actual electronic button that gets pushed when you push the plastic button, and if you bend it like this a bit inwards, you can fine-tune the button, so you can always adjust it. So sometimes you have to do it 2-3 times to get it done properly. It's best to over bend than under bend, because you can still, if you put enough pressure on, you can still bend it back even when it's screwed in. So if I press that. So on this, I can feel that there's too much of a depression there. I mean, it's already quite far depressed before I'm even clicking it, so I can really feel the edges on that circle. So I'm gonna take it back out, and I'm gonna overbend it, and then adjust it while it's in. So just like that, this way, and you can see there's a bit of a curve in there. That's fine, as long as you take it back out when you put it in again. This is sort of like home button calibration, really, and you can do this on anything. You can do this on iPad minis, on iPads in general anyway. iPad minis tend to have a lot of home button issues because the assembly that Apple uses is quite flimsy. And also, instead of screws, it uses tape, so it doesn't, because the iPad mini doesn't have a plastic frame, it's just adhered to the glass directly, the home button bracket. So on this it's a bit easier. So let me see now if it needs any more adjustment. And that's a lot better. However, not perfect. The way I wanted this to be is so it's as if the phone had a brand new, well, as if the phone was brand new basically. So if I bend it some more now. And sometimes actually, it's probably a good idea if I replace the part on there. Let me just get that out there. There's basically a metal spacer there. And some buttons have these installed already. So if I get this off the old one, this button doesn't. However, it does have a plastic knob instead to hit the. So I'll show you what I mean now. So this thing. If I clean it a bit as well. So that's in there properly. So that's proper solid now. That metal spacer. And if I install it now, it should be pretty much perfect. And I can feel there's tension on there. You can see that's a bit bouncy there. Right there, it's a bit bouncy. So there's definitely pressure on the button now. So let's see how that feels. That's pretty much perfect now. Yeah, that's perfect now, so that's fine. Now I'm gonna do a camera part. So if I zoom out maybe a bit. So what I like to do is, I like to always check that the lens is clear, and it is. Now you may have a screen where the camera lens bracket and the proximity sensor bracket are not installed. That's fine, don't worry about it. These are, but you can just take it from the old one, from the old screen, and it doesn't matter if it's not stuck on, that's fine also, as long as you adjust it properly afterwards. So the proximity sensor goes through the window there. Otherwise your the call, it won't turn off the screen properly. So there's a little spacer there as well, a little plastic spacer, that'll help as well to line things up, because otherwise your metal bracket will bend downwards as you're screwing in the longer screw here. There we are. Make sure the earpiece is properly, it looks misaligned now, but it's properly socketed into the rubber gasket there. Otherwise they won't be able to hear anyone on the phone call. Here we are. So make sure everything's aligned properly, camera's perfect. And let's see if the phone is on yet. I'm going to disconnect the battery because we don't know what state the phone is in right now because it's been uncharged. And then test it out. Ah, it's still empty, okay. So it needs to be on charge for a little bit longer. There we go. So I'm pretty confident this will work fine. You can see on the amp meter at the bottom, there we go, it's already turning on now. So if I put this in, again, if this is your first time repairing these, I wouldn't suggest playing around in the phone while it's on, booting up and stuff. So there we are. I can see the phone's already on. So there's no dents in this phone. No dents or bends. So I can just straight up close this up. And that's pretty much perfect. Home button works. Touch works. And there we go. I'm going to install a screen protector on that as well. Another check. And a free tempered glass screen shield on that as well. Let me just make sure the there we are, and done.